guys, Tony and Jill here. So everybody wants to make changes to their RV. But a lot of you guys are apprehensive about changing a lot of things in your RV because one, you're afraid you're going to take away from value. So you look for things that you can do to your RV to make it your own, but maybe not permanent. So we've come across a solution to change our countertops inside. We're going to share that with you because it's not a permanent process. If you would like to remove it, you can. Or if you want to change it 6 months after you got it up, you can peel it off and change it again. But the other good thing about this is it's not going to add an extra bunch of weight, not a whole lot of stuff involved, no real demolition. So a cheap and easy way to give your room a whole new look. So we're going to get started and we're going to go through the list of things of what materials we're using, what items we're going to have to install these. So come join us.
So today we are using Easy Liner removable adhesive vinyl. It is from the Duct Tape Company, Duct brand. It's very flexible and it's easy to go around curved surfaces, so that's why we're using it today. We bought it at Walmart, but you can pick it up online at, I think, ductbrand.com, and it's around $5, maybe $6, depending on where you live, of course. So let's get started.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the things that we need, which Miss Jill talked about was the Easy Liner. So definitely need that before you tackle this project and remodel your countertops in your RV at a cheap price. So you will also need a hair dryer. Doesn't really matter what brand, whatever you have laying around, because you definitely want to try to heat up your vinyl before you go and try to stretch it around your curves and contours of your counters, because if you try to do that with cold vinyl, it will just rip and tear, just really make you mad, upset you, and you don't want that. So then you'll need a tape measure so you can measure the length. You also need a pair of scissors to help cut this vinyl, and an X-Acto blade. That way you can actually get around the curves and contours of sinks and any other little curves that you may have on your countertops. Also, you want to use a squeegee. That's called a squeegee. Basically, it's a hard piece of plastic that they use in the sign business to actually apply decals and things like that. A credit card will do, or an old member's card that you're not using. I wouldn't use your credit card that you use on a regular basis, you know, a good valid credit card, because if putting pressure on it, you could snap a credit card. But, you know, a credit card will work in a pinch. Now, before you get started doing that, you'll want to use some cleaner, and you want to go ahead and completely clean your countertops and any surface you plan on using your liner on. So use ammonia-free stuff. As long as it, you know, removes grease and all that stuff, you want to make sure you get a good clean surface, get it nice and prepped. Make sure your surface is completely dry before you go ahead and start applying your vinyl. So you want to make sure you are completely dust, lint, and grime free wherever you're going to apply this vinyl.
And you want it dry.
And you definitely want to make sure it's dry, like Miss Jill said. It's not that hard to spend a few extra minutes to make sure your surface is prepped properly. Depending on your countertops and what you may have, like we have this little junction back here in the back, which we're going to remove that for easier access, which that's just a couple Phillips head screws in our case, but each application is going to be different. Also, I want to go ahead and remind you, when you do put your vinyl in, you'll want to cut that at least 2 inches longer than what you need on your top surface. That way you have room to manipulate and stretch and get around the bottom. Then you can trim accordingly.
So first we're going to measure the counter, the spots that we're working on, and then I flip it over and there's grit on the back. This way you can kind of mark it and you'll be able to do straight lines. So just remember, you need 1 inch to 2 inches on each side. So on this countertop we're going to need it on the left side and in the front. So don't forget to add that extra inch on all sides that you need it on. Alright, so it actually took 2 people. It makes it a little bit easier if you have 2 people, so you have it straight. So we got it laid out with our overhang, and this is when you're going to use your hair dryer. You could probably use a heat gun, but I wouldn't hold it too close because this will melt That's the whole purpose of heating it. You're going to warm it up so it's pliable, and it will go around the edges and curve onto the edge and go underneath. Now if you have a countertop that's solid surface, you're going to need the overhang to go all the way to your cabinet underneath so you can see it, and then trim it up with a razor blade. Ours has the lip so we can wrap it around and we don't have to worry about it underneath. So here we go. It does start to cool pretty quick, so, but you can heat it up again. I just use my fingers and kind of, you know, smooth it out as much as you can.
This is where the heat gun comes in handy, hair dryer. Like she said, you see how easily that starts to melt, so you got to be very careful with working with this. Not to actually melt your material, but you want to get it just the consistency to where it will bend and shape around these curves. Very forgiving product, but with anything, you still have to be careful so you don't overdo it.
Probably wondering how short I am, huh? Look, I can see under the cabinet. Alright, so it took 2 people again. It just makes it a little bit easier if you have to. You can do it on your own if you need to. But we gave it a little bit of lip up here, and we're going to take a razor blade and trim it down once we're done. Eventually we're going to put up some backsplash. So it won't be as noticeable anyways. But anyhow, we lined it up, and we have this edge smoothed down, and the paper's still underneath it, guys. Makes it so much easier. Now, since we're not taking out the sink, we just cut a couple of slits in it so we could lay it smoother on here as we go, and eventually, and then we'll trim it out once we get it flat. So here we go.
Now see, it helps to have the other person pull a little bit to help keep tension on that. And you see how Miss Jill's using the squeegee there. She's going against the paper on the underside that she's peeling. It's an easier way to do that without getting air bubbles inside of your work. That way you can kind of adjust for those as you go along.
You'll have to do some planning when you start this, because you're going to have seams unless you have the really big vinyl. So we chose to have a seam back here. Hopefully it won't be as obvious. Back up. And if you haven't done this before, I would suggest you doing it on a small surface. That just to practice, because it is a little, it's pretty forgiving, but this big of a surface, you want to make sure you know exactly what you're doing prior to starting.
Have a game plan, that way you're not constantly peeling, because you're only going to get so many times of peeling it back off before it's not sticky anymore. That's what she's getting at.
Right. And granted, it's not real expensive to go out and just buy a new roll, but why do that when you can just practice?
I want to trim that backing paper back just a little bit, make it a little easier to work with, especially when you're trying to go around angles. We probably should have removed the sink, but this is not something we're going to do for a permanent thing. This is something for the right now that we like. But who knows? We might decide we like this a lot better, or we might decide we want to go with a different color when we decide to remodel some more of the inside of the RV here. Remember to use your hair dryer to kind of help get rid of some of the small bubbles that may be in there. See how easily that's applying around that curve with applying a little bit of heat? That's exactly what you want so you don't tear this material. Now be careful when you're pulling on it after you heat it up, because you can still rip the material that way too. If you stretch too hard. You ever wondered how a vehicle gets a wrap? This is sort of the same principle. You guys can see how Miss Jill is actually going around very carefully and stretching the material to contour around that curve. You'll have a little bit of these little bubbles and stuff there for a moment.
We're gonna
But as soon as you heat that back up and you run the squeegee over it, it will take those out. But if they don't come out right away, don't freak out. We'll show you how to get it. Slow and steady. But we'll show you how another way you can do that. Use a little needle to poke a hole in the air bubble if you can't get it out. And while you're heating it, you can actually go back in with your squeegee and get rid of the air that's in the middle of the pocket if you find a little air pocket somewhere else.
And once you get these little lines right here, don't go smoothing them out like that, because
you'll fold them over.
And they will not come smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat them back up and stretch some more.
Well, as you guys can see, the finished product looks pretty nice. It definitely give it a whole different look inside here in comparison to what we had going on before. And just think, this total cost of doing this was $12. Not a bad way to refinish your countertop for less than 20 bucks and to give yourself a different view. I think it's worth the money. Well guys, as you can see, we are finished with a little project for today. This was a great, inexpensive way to change up your RV without breaking the bank. So a very cheap option to resurfacing your countertops. We done this for less than $20. Not only did we resurface our existing countertop without a big bunch of demo, we also did the countertop surfaces in our bedroom on top of our bureau, and actually both bureaus, and the sink top in there. And it took us about 2 hours to do all of this. So it's really not that time consuming either. And I'd say on the degree of difficulty of actually installing this was probably about a 4 out of a 10 scale. The hardest part about it is getting around your curves. Now we elected to not remove the sink and all that stuff to actually add this, because we want to show you that there's an easy way to do it and you can get it done quickly. Now, if we wanted to remove the sink and then reseal the sink and all that stuff, that's another option you can do. We chose to do the latter just to show you that you can do it quick and inexpensive. So, with that being said, it came out great. And the other great thing about this is, you know, you're able to add an extra spin of your own individuality on your countertops. Make it your own. But you have the option to peel it back off. If, say, you put it on here and you don't like it for a week after it's been on there, you don't have to leave it that way. There's many options, many designs from this company. You know,
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, sky's the limit on it, I guess. So, I mean, you can always change it up. If you like it for a month, you don't like it. I mean, it just depends on you. But make it your own. But the other good thing about this is you're not adding a big bunch of weight to your RV.
Right.
So, anybody who pulls an RV knows weight is your enemy, especially as a full-timer, because you already have more stuff than most weekend warriors. So if you can keep your weight down, change things up, make it more to your liking, the better off you'll be. I want to thank my wife and give her a big round of applause. She did the installation today. She did a great job. I did the camera work. And honestly, she did great. I think I was more in her way than anything when I was trying to help. So, yeah, like I said, the degree of difficulty is not very high. It's a very simple process.
Are you saying because I did it, it's simple?
No, that's not what I'm saying. But, you know, it's something that can be done in an afternoon. So, like I said, you know, it took us 2 hours to get this done from start to finish, and that was just cleaning and prepping and getting it done. So, guys, I want to thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing there. And come back and see us, and hopefully we'll come back with some more videos here on the next series of, we're going to do a backsplash and a few other things in here, because I think we're going to actually do a little bit more renovations in here as far as changing our cabinets and maybe even some flooring. So be sure to subscribe, come back and see us, and like I said, thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one. Bye.